It's Do Time with Pastor Steph.
Good morning, and good morning again. Welcome back to It's Due Time with Pastor Steph. And it is Freestyle Friday. Where you been all week? We started off the week talking about those relationships as we were shaking the Monday morning blues. We talked about the guy that was allowed to stay in the house for a whole year. The woman said he didn't do anything. He didn't contribute to anything. He said he had 6 kids and 3 baby mamas, and she knew what she was signing up for. So what was the complaint? Well, the complaint was she waited too long. You can't wait a whole year before you now approach things that actually needed to be in place. Then what about your friends? Oh, what about the woman who allowed her friend to move in with her because she had pretty much become homeless, and she was vacationing, yes, and wasn't giving her anything. Maybe have given her something to eat or put some food in the house one time, and that was about it. And oh, did she sound off, telling her to start the eviction process, and bye-bye, I'm going to sleep. There's something wrong with you. So you need to check the men and those women, and you need to check your friends. Let's talk about it. Tuesday rolled around, and we got to talking about where are you in the church world? In the church, where are your relationships? You've got a pastor and first lady physically having domestic abuse and domestic violence issues, and she ends up killing him. And the question was, well, where was the church family? How is everybody coming? How are you all going to church and nobody notices that this woman is in distress? This man is not acting kind of weird or domineering or controlling. Where are you? What are you paying attention to what's going on? Are you your brother's keeper? Well, let's talk about it. Tuesday went by, and we are now on to Wow Wednesday, and we join our girlfriend Vivian and her socially conscious segment. Well, the nurses here in New York City are still striking, and they are calling out for Governor Kathy Hochul to speak up. Where are you? How are you allowing these New York City hospitals to run with temp nurses for so long? It's been 4 whole weeks, and they are still at it, and they are demanding that she open up her mouth and help bring this whole situation to a resolve. And we want to celebrate that 16-year-old from South Africa who, following the plight of domestic violence and domestic abuse, and she has now made an earring that not only has a camera but will alert the police. So we are going to give God thanks that she's getting that help to expand this idea. Well, there was no Therapeutic Thursday, unfortunately, and here we are now to Freestyle Friday, y'all. We made it by the grace of God, and we are definitely giving him thanks for finishing off this first Friday, or helping us meet the first Friday in February. Boy, we are already flowing through the week. So we are so happy. I'm so happy to be with you. I'm so happy that you have joined me. And if you have not subscribed already, make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, so every time we load up here on It's Due Time with Pastor Steph, when we load up on My 2 Cents, when we load up on the Word Prayer Project, when we load up on With All Due Respect with Shantice and V, you are there. You'll get that alert, and trust me, it pops up on your phone or any device that you have, because it does its job. So let's get this party started. Let's go ahead and get that healthy breakfast. Go ahead and tell somebody, anybody, everybody that it's due time where Pastor Steph is on. And whatever you do, don't go anywhere because we will be right back.
Man prays, protects, and provides in that order. Because if a man can't submit to something higher than himself, he'll make everything around him submit to him instead. See, true masculine energy has hierarchy, and God has to become first because you can't protect what's not already grounded, and you can't provide what you haven't asked for. Most men skip that first step. They go straight to chasing money, straight to chasing women and chasing validation, all empty things. Men want to be providers, but they never built their own foundation. So always remember, prayer is the true direction. It's humility. It's how a man admits, I don't have all the answers. But guess what? God, I'm willing to be guided. The masculine man also protects not just his woman, but his peace, his name, his energy, his purpose. He doesn't let everything pull his attention because he understands intuitively that the world's chaos will destroy a distracted man. We've been seeing that since the beginning of time. If you take out the man, you take out the family. And then he provides, but not just money, but safety, direction, and stability. He gives people something to believe in, and we know how important belief is. Because provision isn't just about paying bills. It's about being a man everyone knows they can count on when it gets dark. So yeah, a real man prays, he protects, and he provides in that order. Because without God, protection becomes control and provision becomes ego. But when a man leads from faith, everything around him multiplies. His peace, his money, his family, love, and most of all, his legacy.
Good morning, and good morning again. Welcome back to It's Due Time with Pastor Steph, and it is Freestyle Friday. And before we say good morning to all of our members and family in the room, we want to remind you that commenting on this channel is a blessing and a privilege. And we just ask you to just be respectful. We don't care what you feel. If you want to watch, we'd love to have you. If you want to join the conversation, we'll love to have you, but you must be respectful or you will be excluded from this channel. So we'd love to have you. Come on and join the party. The more, the merrier, as they say. Well, thank you so much. To Ketty, good morning. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. We got to check in from our boy Serge. Hey, Serge. Thank you so much for joining us. We got our girl Tamika in the house. Good morning. Thank you so much for joining us. Ketty says, I love that PSA. Wasn't it a fantastic PSA? Very, 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 very uplifting and encouraging and enlightening. So thank you so much, Shantice. Good job. So we must say good morning to everyone who helps us on the back end. We don't even get to see them sometimes, but it would not be us if it were not for them. So let's say good morning to our girl Shantice. Hey. And let's say good morning to our girl Anika. Good morning. Thank you so much for joining us. We're continuing to keep Miss Grace in prayer. We're trusting that you're doing better. And if you're out there, we're saying good morning. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Well, you know how we do. On Friday, we get that trivia. as we do a little celebrity news on Friday mornings. So we're going to shout out to some Black inventors. Those are our celebrities this morning. We've got some inventions that, maybe some of you don't know that came, through us. Thank you so much. We got Black History Month going on. So we are shouting out those celebrities that have helped us just like on a daily basis, and we don't even realize it sometimes. So let's shout out William B. Purvis, and he is responsible for the fountain pen. Now, that was invented in 1890. They say he improved the fountain pen by creating a self-filling ink tube system, making writing cleaner, more reliable, and accessible at a time when penmanship was central to education and business. And as we know, penmanship has pretty much gone out the window. I've had people come to work, sign up, get employed, and they can't sign their name. So shout out to our William Purvis. Hey, good morning. We got a shout out from Brian. Thank you so much for joining us, Brian. We're shouting out our celebrity inventors in Black History Month. We've got the GPS technology by our Dr. Gladys West. It was developed in the 1970s and 80s, and this mathematical modeling of Earth shape became the foundation for modern GPS systems. We got the refrigerator by John Standard, invented in 1891. Yes. So they say the Standard patented an improved icebox design that allowed food to be preserved longer, making early refrigeration more practical for households. All right. Well, we've got that traffic signal by Garrett Morgan that was invented in 1923. And his traffic signal introduced a cautionary third position, helping reduce accidents at busy intersections. All right. Peanut products and agricultural innovation, thanks to George Washington Carver back in the early 1900s. He did not invent peanut butter, but his groundbreaking agricultural research popularized peanuts and introduced hundreds of practical uses that transformed Southern farming. All right. Air conditioning and refrigerated transport by our Frederick McKinley. That was back in the 1930s and 40s. And the refrigeration system made it possible to safely transport food, medicine, and blood supplies. All right. The fire escape ladder. Okay, that's new to me, by Joseph W. Winters. Now, that was invented back in 1878, and his fire escape ladder improved emergency exits for buildings, saving lives during urban fires. Wow. All right. Railway communication systems by Granville T. Woods. That was back in the late 1800s. Known as the Black Edison, Woods developed electrical and communication systems that made trains safer and more efficient. All right. We're shouting out to all of our Black celebrities during this Black History Month. We've got the bottle caps, A.E. Long and A.A. Jones, invented back in 1898. Their bottle cap design improved the sealing and preservation of beverages and food products. All right. The improved toilet, called the commode, by Thomas Elkins, invented in 1872. Elkins designed an improved sanitary commode, enhancing hygiene and waste management. All right. The ironing board by Sarah Boone, invented in 1887. Her ironing board design was narrower and curved, making it easier to press women's garments. All right. The lawnmower. This is new to me, by John A. Burr, that was invented in 1899. And he improved the rotary blade designs, allowing lawnmowers to cut grass more efficiently. All right. The envelope seal, new to me. F.W. Leslie. Leslie developed an improved envelope sealing method, enhancing mail security. All right. The pencil sharpener, by John L. Love, invented in 1897. His handheld sharpener became a staple in classrooms and offices. All right. The pressure cooker, new to me. Morris W. Lee, invented back in the early 1900s. Lee's pressure cooking design made food prep faster and more energy efficient. The fire extinguisher, Thomas J. Marshall, back in 1872, he developed an early fire extinguisher system, advancing fire safety practices. The elevator door system, new to me. Alexander Miles, invented back in 1887. His automatic elevator doors help prevent serious injuries and deaths. All right. The lawn sprinkler, new to me. Joseph H. Smith, invented back in 1897. His sprinkler system improved irrigation and lawn care efficiency. All right. Programmable remote controllers, Joseph N. Jackson. This was invented back in the mid-20th century. He contributed to early programmable control system used in electronics. All right, Tamika says, I don't know what I'd do without my pressure cooker. So thank you. All right. Helicopter innovations. Paul E. Williams, invented back in 1962. He contributed to helicopter design advancements used in aviation. All right. The mop, new to me. Thomas W. Stewart, invented in 1893. Stewart's mop design improved sanitation and cleaning efficiency. We're shouting out all of our celebrity inventors from back in the day. And it's Black History Month. So we're saying good morning, and good morning. Serge says, just say people on our side built America. All right. Well, we know they had some major contributions. We've got a check-in from someone called Too Calm for You. Good morning. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. The folding kitchen table, H.A. Jackson, the early 1900s. Jackson's folding table design maximized space and functionality in the home. The guitar, new to me. Robert Fleming Jr. back in 1886. His patented and guitar design that contributed to modern instrument construction. The mailbox by Philip B. Downing. Back in 1891, Downing's mailbox design improved mail security and weather protection. All right. The doorknob. All right. Osborne Dorsey, invented back in 1878. His doorknob design modernized household hardware. The shoe lasting machine, W.A. Dietz, early 1900s. This was invented. And Dietz's contribution to shoe manufacturing helped standardize footwear production. Now, again, maybe some of these things you knew and some of these things you did not know. Well, if you didn't know, you know now. We have contributed a greater deal than what we are learning in school. And shout out to all of those who have definitely helped to not only make the pressure cooker that Tamika loves, but all of these everyday things, the mailbox, the street lights, come on, the ironing board, all of these things that have definitely enhanced our lives, where we would have never known that we even had any contribution at all. So thank God for these inventions. Thank God for being God. Because we couldn't invent anything. No one could invent anything if it were not for him. So shout out to God. All right, so let's see what's going on in celebrity news this morning. There was a lot of celebrity news this week, I got to tell y'all. So I had to pick and choose what I thought was more interesting than some other stories. So let's talk about Sherri Shepherd. All right. Well, Sherri Shepherd, we know, got her show from covering for Wendy Williams when Wendy suddenly got ill and could not keep up with her daily talk show. So they did like a couple of people, and they landed with and on Sherri Shepherd. Well, Sherri's show has actually been canceled. They are now finishing up her final season. After 4 seasons, she will no longer be on. They say this decision is driven by the evolving daytime television landscape and does not reflect on the strength of the show, its production. And they're saying the show is actually doing very well. They also pointed out that the other young lady does not have a show either. What's her name? Kelly Clarkson. Yeah. After 7 seasons, she says she wants to focus on her family a little bit more. So she's going to, do some family stuff now. So Sherri is going bye-bye, but they say they are looking for new platforms for the Sherri show, and maybe we'll see her pop up. Now that she's doing her show, she's really not doing a whole lot of acting anymore, because if you remember, we've seen Sherri Shepherd for a long time. Yeah, homegirl's been hanging out with us for a long time, and she was kind of flying underneath the radar. She had a couple of recurring roles in a couple of shows, and she's lost a great amount of weight. She looks great, and people really love her show. So hopefully, she'll land on her feet, and they will find some other platform for her. They say YouTube is really, taking over a lot of these type shows. So, the networks aren't that interested in them much anymore. All right, what else are we talking about? All right, somebody tell me what's going on here. Now, I could not get a picture. Maybe Shantice found one, but I was looking all over the internet last night to get a picture of Joel Rufus French. Now, oh my goodness. He used to be a football player with the Green Bay Packers. And he has been convicted of, they say, a nearly $200 million Medicare fraud. Now, his Medicare fraud has been targeted toward the elderly, the people who are suffering from Alzheimer's and dementia. And he has billed, they say, millions and millions of dollars for orthotic braces for deceased patients and amputees. It's even said that he's targeted veterans. Yes, and some veteran immediate families, like who have passed away. And he's 47 years old, and he's now he has collaborated with some call centers overseas to pressure the elderly people to give them their health insurance information so he could send them these unneeded medical supplies. So these call centers would call the people and ask, and check this out. If the people said no, they found out that they were altering the call recordings to make it seem like these Medicare patients actually agreed to the braces when they did not. So I don't know if you remember, a while ago we were saying we were getting those scam warnings from the police, and they were telling us to be very careful of how we answer our phone. And we were getting like emails and all kinds of things that was telling us, make sure when they say, is this Mary Jones, you don't say yes. Be careful of saying yes to unknown callers, because they were taking those yeses and they were plugging in. Yes, Tamika, they're out of control. They are plugging in, these answers, and they're now making it seem like you're agreeing to purchase stuff. So now this is what he was doing with his Medicare patients. So they say he would pay these fake telemedicine companies to get doctors and other medical professionals to sign off on patient orders that sometimes they didn't even know what was going on. And they said these orders would be sold to supply companies, and then he would submit these to the Medicare company for reimbursements. I think it was Shantice who brought up, the Bible tells us to care for the elderly, the widows, and the orphans. Well, guess what? That falls into this category. So you're taking advantage of these people. Really, really, wow. They say to pay off his co-conspirators who sold him patients' personal information at one point, he took $225,000 out of a Mississippi bank and drove it to them in Orlando. Yeah, he's out of control. Out of control. So they say the final charges that he got included conspiracy to commit healthcare fraud and wire fraud, conspiracy to commit money laundering, and conspiracy to offer, pay, solicit, and receive kickbacks. And he is facing up to 20 years in jail. Good Lord. You have really lost your mind. Really lost your mind. All right. What else are we talking about in celebrity news this morning? Well, guess who's back in the news? Maya Campbell. Now, everybody remembers Maya Campbell from back in the 90s. She used to be on Moesha. She used to be on In the House. She's done a lot of like little spots in on TV back in the 90s, but her biggest land was on In the House with LL Cool J and what's her name? Debbie Allen. Yeah, Debbie Allen. And she's talking about her sobriety, and she's been sober for 6 years now. Now, for those of you who don't know, Maya Campbell suffered from bipolar. She does. She suffers from bipolar. And she has really suffered over the years. Now, just recently, she was on the 85 South show. Now, this show is hosted by DC Youngfly, Carlos Miller, and Chico Bean. And we know them from, Wildin' Out. Well, they have their own little podcast, and they had her on there, and she talked about her struggles with substance abuse, the bipolar disorder, and her journey back to sobriety. And she mentioned that, during this time of difficulty, she had, certain people reach out to her and, help her along the way. And she was very grateful, but she really wanted to point out that LL really, he sought her out. He sought her out. He was really, really concerned about her. And he offered to pay $60,000 a month to get her into rehab. So he was really putting his money where his mouth was. And he really wanted to get her back to LA from wherever she was. And she really took a dive when her mom passed away. And I think her mother was Baby Moore Campbell. Back in the day, she was like, I don't know if y'all remember, like back in the late 80s, early 90s, mid 90s, they had the Black authors, who were writing, some of the love stories and the hood books and things like that. And Baby Moore Campbell was one of the more popular authors, and she wrote some very good books. And I never even realized for a long time that they were even related. Well, they were mother and daughter. And when her mom passed away, who she said was her rock back during, back in the day when she really started spiraling out of control, she really, really took the death of her mom hard. That really sent her into a bad part of her life. And she said, with all of the people that helped her, he really reached out to her, really made that commitment. She didn't take him up on it. She did not take him up on it. But she said her faith in God is really what ultimately did the job for her. She's in church. She says she will not leave God under any circumstances because he was the one that really helped her through it all. So shout out to Maya Campbell. Very happy to hear that she's on a great road, of recovery. Again, 6 years, she's been keeping it together, her and God. So good for her. Good for her. Let's see what else I got going on in this world of celebrity. Well, we've been following the story of Eric Murphy and Jasmine Lawrence, and they are the son and daughter of Eddie Murphy and Martin Lawrence. And we've been following this story for a couple of years, actually. When they first got together, we were talking about it. And back in 2021, I believe. Oh, here we go. Back in 2021 is when they actually started to, when they got together. They say, contrary to popular belief, their fathers did not actually introduce them back in June of 2021. He started, promoting and publicizing his feelings, Eric, for Jasmine, but it was one of their uncles that actually introduced them. And they started with the love notes and all stuff on social media, and they kept it going. And I believe it was in 2023 that they actually got married, and they have been going strong, and they are now expecting their very first child. So not only is Martin Lawrence and Eddie Murphy good friends, not only are they legitimately family now, but now they will really, God spares life, really be family. They will share a grandchild. So that's pretty exciting, I'm sure, for them. So my prayer is that they really make it, not just because they're Eddie Murphy and Martin Lawrence, but just because if it's genuine Black love, I really hope that they, do keep this going, because unfortunately, we're not seeing this happen very often. We see some of these older, we've got like Angela Bassett and Courtney B. Vance. We've got the, Pauletta Washington and Denzel, and we've got like Samuel Jackson and his wife. I can't think of her name right now, but she's another actress. And some of the older ones are definitely holding on, but we don't have a lot of our young people holding on. So hopefully they'll make it. Hopefully they shall make it. All right. Well, let's talk about some other news. So I'm going to come back to that one because I want to talk to my men about that story. So let's see what else we got going on. Well, we've got some listener, viewers submitted stories, and I was loaded this week. They were just sending them in. So thank you all for sending in your stories. We've got some stories from the Due Time crew. We got some stories from the viewers and listeners. So thank you all, because boy, do you make this job a whole lot easier, because sometimes I go for news and it is so bone dry. And I thank you so much for sending it in. Keep on. God decides what news we talk about and what news we kind of lay on the side. Well, Olive Garden had an employee, and they say that this employee, this male employee, of course, I'm like so annoyed right now, because of course I'm not getting anything here, so I'm gonna have to go on my memory. So this Olive Garden employee, he was a young guy, and another employee ended up telling the backstory of it. So they say he was on PCP and came in high, thought that the deep fryer grease was water, took off his clothes, and went headfirst into the fryer. They say, the employees called the 911 dispatcher, and they say it was absolute pandemonium in the background. People were screaming. They said that, several people tried to help him get out, and he was actually fighting to get back in. Now, even a customer was part of the people who was helping him to try to get out of this hot grease. We're talking about deep fryer grease. That has got to be holy hell hot. And unfortunately, a couple of days later, after they got him to the emergency room, he passed away. And, we haven't heard about PCP in years. Again, we talked about this, I believe, like Monday-ish, about the crack. Who still uses PCP? Where do you even get this stuff from? Yes, back in the day, PCP was very, very popular, was one of the high potent drugs that people would use, but it did a lot of damage. A lot of people ended up permanently messed up from PCP. And, my guys, my Due Time crew, they're older, so they'll probably remember, PCP from back in the day. But yeah, he got his hands on some PCP and thought that, the deep fryer oil was water. And here's the thing, PCP was always a hallucinogenic. Yeah, people would get up on buildings, think, or go to windows and talk, I think I could fly. And yeah, there were a lot of fatalities when it came to PCP, because it really made people think things that really were, was not true. Oh boy. Shanti says another situation where the demons literally jump in someone and helps them kill themselves. He was fighting to get back in. Yes, they said that as they were pulling him out, he was fighting to get back in. So that's why he actually unclothed himself, because he thought he was going into water. He thought he was going into a pool. So Lord have mercy. Praying for his family, because I know that's got to be some heartbreaking news. And the last story that I have for you today to discuss. Where are we here? So out here in Queens, in Glen Oaks, we have a father. Oh boy, 53. 53. We don't know what was going on with him, but they got a domestic violence call where he had slashed his wife, his 52-year-old wife, slashed his 21-year-old daughter, and then he attempted to hit his 15-year-old son with a ball barrel. And they don't know whether this is due to some mental illness, some drug use. They really don't know what's going on. But, pay attention to your family members, and that's one of the reasons why, although I don't have, this is not a long story, I wanted to actually, I had this from earlier during the week, but with the story of the guy from Olive Garden, pay attention to your family. If they're acting strange, if they're really doing things that doesn't seem to be them, really pay attention. Unfortunately, you can't stop people from using drugs. Unfortunately, you may not know the signs of mental illness. We talked about that this week when we showed the video of the autistic son actually attacking his mom, had done some damage in the home. Vivian brought it up on her Socially Conscious as one of her items. And we're hearing this stuff all the time, and you don't know which way it's going. So in this particular case, again, they don't know. They don't know. The family was caught off guard. Thank God there was no fatalities. Thank God there was no fatalities. Wait, did he kill himself? Yes, he actually killed himself. He stabbed himself in the stomach, and then he stabbed himself in the throat. So thank God the family was not harmed. Unfortunately, they lost, the dad and the husband. Prayers up again to this family. But we got a lot to look out for. Shanti says that's the effects of Xanax. Okay. All right. Where are my men? I saw my brother Ainsley in the room. Let's see. Let's say good morning. Good morning, Brother Ainsley.
Hey, good morning, Pastor Steph. Good morning. Happy Friday morning.
Yes, sir. How are you?
I'm doing all right. How you doing?
Good. I'm good. Thanks. I'm good. All right. So we've got some stories here. I'm going to let you choose. You can choose the story of the former NFL player who is now going down for about 20 years of his life in jail for a $200 million Medicare fraud charges, where he has been charging elderly people for services and items that they didn't get, as well as Medicare he was billing them for items that the people did not get. You've got the story of the Olive Garden individual who was on PCP, they say, and he thought he was going into a pool, undressed himself, and went in head first, into the hot deep fryer. Which one you want to talk about?
Oh man, I could say something on both of them.
So which one doesn't apply here? You're gonna say something on both of them. Okay.
Real quick. All right. First one. I didn't hear everything exactly of what he was doing to get to the point, but it seemed like he was doing a lot with the whole scheme. But my thing is, man, listen, if he had all this analytical prowess, you couldn't do something like use that on a legal side, bro.
Right.
Doing this, that, and all the analyzing, blah, blah, blah. You couldn't do nothing legal.
Right.
Legal. I mean, or you just prone to do illegal stuff. I mean, you got organizational skills and blah, blah, blah. But come on, man, really. So
Yeah, because even in the article, they talk about how he gathered up all these different entities to get this done. He got like doctors, and he got the teleconference medical centers
he
and
did
all
market
kinds of
research.
things. Yes, he did. He really did. You're
I
right. He
mean,
did a lot of stuff.
so if you're gonna do all of that, man, yo, you could do this on a legal side, bro. Legal side, and then show the rest of the youngins, how to go about it themselves too.
Hmm.
But man, no. So that's
Absolutely.
that's the thing with him. Now with the PCP, I haven't heard that in a while.
Hmm.
I remember stuff people. I remember that was a while ago. I think people was think they could fly. That was the main people. They was going on top of buildings and jumping off
Yep.
balconies
Yep.
and stuff like that. But this guy here, now you talking about, he goes to Olive Garden and take off all this. That right there tells you something wrong. But then he
Yeah.
gonna hop into some hot grease,
The deep
and you mean
fryer.
to tell me the moment your body
Woo! Yes.
feels some hot
Yes.
grease and nothing click, that something is wrong here.
Yeah.
My body don't know this ain't supposed to be good, and you want to continue to stay in some
Yeah.
burning hot grease. I'm surprised anybody
Mhm.
won't want to try to help, because I don't want that stuff to splash on me.
Well, actually, there were a couple of co-workers who were burned because they were actually trying to help him. So you're right. There were a couple of people who had to also be taken to the hospital for burns.
Yeah. So to me, once that heat, that oil, hot oil hit you, I mean, I'm on back when you just frying something, a little hot oil
Right.
hit your hand or something like that. I'm almost done for that, and you're gonna put your whole body in it. So
Yeah.
and being nothing clicked in his mind, that shows you how far gone, how strong this hallucinogen is.
Yep.
Excuse me,
Yep.
dog around here. Um, that it's terrible. It's saddening, really. And the life gone.
Yes.
You
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. Yeah. And thank God there weren't, other people who were really badly burned. That worse than they were.
Yeah, I mean, I would try to help from a distance, man. But I'm not gonna lose my life trying to help for you for something like that, man. Getting burned, Mm-mm.
Yeah.
Terrible.
All right, we got to check in from Miss Grace officially. Good morning. We said good morning to you earlier. Thank God that you are at least able to, get to the phone. We pray that you're doing well and
Hmm.
your health is improving. So thank you so much for joining us this morning. Tamika says, I had a coworker who actually fell into the fryer while cleaning. He has instant third degree burns. Absolutely. That deep fryer is,
Wow.
like I said, hella hot. That's a lot of hot water. I'm sorry, hot
Yeah.
grease. Where's our pastor Jeff? Let's say good morning and see what he's got to say about both these stories, if he even heard. Good morning, Pastor Jeff.
Good morning. Good morning,
How
y'all.
are
How y'all
you?
doing?
Hey, good morning, bro.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Okay, thank you. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good.
Good. Very good. So, Pastor Jeff, we're talking about the former NFL player who is going to jail for a very long time. He is being charged with many, many different things, and up to $200 million in Medicare fraud. And he was charging the elderly people, he was charging Medicare, and he did a lot of work to get this done. And now he's getting ready to go to jail.
Well, for all my fraud brothers out there, if you ripping off banks and corporations and those that built their money on slavery, I ain't gonna be so hard. But you ripping off vulnerable people, old people. They need to put you under the jail. Okay? Taking advantage of people. Now, you know, I'm
Yeah.
all about, you know, how you know these big corporations made their money. You know, so I'm telling you, I got little sympathy for folks that get them. But nah, man. and
Leave it to
and
you, Pastor Jeff.
and and far as that LSD thing, my friend Patrick back in the days, they called him Pretty Boy Patrick. All the girls loved him. I mean, brother had that coolie hair, 6-pack. Girls loved him, and the guys were jealous of him. And they put some LSD in his weed,
Wow.
and
Wow.
he never been the same. He's been out of his mind. I don't even know if he's still alive now, but he's been out of his mind all those years, man. And I felt bad for him because that thing messed him up for life.
Wow, somebody slipped it to him?
LSD.
Somebody slipped it to him?
Yeah, they put it in his weed.
They were having the DMX, right?
So some of the brothers,
with the crack,
that rolled in the neighborhood. I ain't gonna say with us because, you know, I wasn't down with that crew, and I wouldn't have done that to Patrick. I wasn't hating on him, you know. But messed up to this day.
Yeah, quite a few people I've heard, you know, that I've met, you know, of people who had family members, and you know, said, well, what's wrong with so, you know, what happened with so and so, you know, and they were like, yeah, went out one day, party, came back, was never the same. Got a hold to some PCP, LSD, you know, acid. They used to, all those three names were associated with this drug, and several people that I know, I have met, you know, who you thought maybe they were born that way. No, somebody got to them the same way, Pastor Jeff. Yeah. So you know, you gotta really, 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 you know, it's just this and again, you know, we don't know whether this guy, well, the way the co-worker told the story was that, you know, he wasn't given it, that he had actually taken it. So, you know, this is something that, you know, he did and did not anticipate, you know, jumping in the pool. That was actually hot grease. So I don't know. You know, this is something to think about, because like I said earlier during the week, we talked about, you know, the guy in the Bronx who, you know, tried to steal the stove out of the housing project apartment and wanted to steal the stove. Yes, it was a brand new stove. They were, you know, fixing up the apartment, and he was already on a restriction. He had a court order of protection against him from an ex-girlfriend, his child's mother, and she was actually in a domestic violence shelter trying to stay away from him. He was on crack, went into the apartment, broke into the apartment, or however he got up in there, stole the stove that was attached to the gas line, took it out of the gas line, wrapped the gas line with a blanket, and the apartment blew up. Yeah, and they
even turn off the gas. Wow.
Yeah, he can't turn off the gas in the building. The gas was actually running. And it wasn't like he didn't know. When he took it out, he wrapped the blanket over the pipe and didn't even get away with the stove. And he was taking the stove to buy a gram of crack. There was one fatality. They said people were hanging out the windows. This happened at like the 15th, 16th floor.
Oh my gosh.
And when the apartment, the explosion happened, the ceiling fell on him, on another guy, and killed him. 60-year-old man.
Oh my gosh.
Killed him. But there were other injuries in the building. So, you know, this drug usage is really, really fatal when it
and the thing is, it's innocent people being harm, injure, and damage
Right.
and kill. You man, you
Right.
just in a home just chilling because somebody's
Right.
trying to
Right.
get a high. They cause
Right.
the apartment above you to blow up. Now you know that's crazy.
Yeah.
Like this,
So
yeah.
this is not something that you and like you said, anticipate. These people went to work that day over at Olive Garden, and they see their fellow employee come through, and this is what happens. So now the whole
Right.
place, and like you said, innocent people are damaged and harmed because this is what you do. So you know what, prayers up to all these people. you know um was trying to wait for Pastor KL to come on, but we're gonna move.
I
We're
wonder
gonna
did the
move on.
employees realize that was he acting different at work? Did they see signs and they while working with him at the Olive Garden?
Yeah, that's what I was saying earlier when I was giving the story. I was like, pay attention to your family. Are you noticing, like you said, are you noticing a difference in behavior? There's something that just doesn't seem right.
I mean
Yeah.
your coworker. I mean, say if we see
No, I know
somebody
what
at
you
work,
mean.
yeah,
Yeah.
we see a
Yeah.
coworker, I'd be like, yo, somebody over here, man.
Mm-hmm.
Something ain't right.
Anybody.
Yeah.
Right. Somebody you're around all the time. Are they now acting different and you don't have any idea as to why? Is it mental illness? Is it a drug use? You don't even know. Are you noticing? That is the question. Actually, that's on the table. Do you even recognize when this stuff is going on? All righty. I got some stuff. Pastor KL has joined us. So I have a story for you all. And I wanted to know what you all thought of this here. So there is a gentleman who is, all right. So they say back in 1975, he came to the United States lawfully as a teenager from Jamaica. He later enlisted in the Army, where he served overseas, and he was honorably discharged. He's been in the United States ever since. On September 15th of 25, he was stopped for not signaling. And that flagged him being on a list from 2007. So they say he had a removal order linked to a 2007 bounce check and a simple assault charge from 2006 that his attorney says was nonviolent. Now, I don't understand how an assault charge is nonviolent, but attorneys will say anything. So ICE got a hold of him. So they're saying now, 50 years later, served in the Army, honorably discharged, he is now being held to be deported. So he's due to be deported this upcoming week. And some Democrats and Republican politicians have written in to get him some kind of a hearing so he is not deported. What's your thought on this issue? The family is upset because they're like, he spent 50 years here. He was here legally, but I guess he didn't clear up all of the paperwork properly because they could deport him. But, he didn't say he did clear it up, but he served, and that's what they're leaning on. He's been here 50 years. He really hasn't been in any problems, and he served this country. Should they leave him alone? Pastor Jeff?
Yeah, I think they should leave him alone. He served this country. Think about it. I mean, what's the ultimate sacrifice there? He could have died for this country, and now you're trying to put him out. That's why it should be a case by case. When you're putting these people, sending them back to other countries, because I have I don't want to say who it is, but I got somebody close to me that been here all these years, and their whole family took care of business, but they just didn't take care of business, and they've been here like 50 years, and now they're afraid, and they about to move back to their country because they're scared of Trump, and they tired of walking around on eggshells, you know. So I really think it's wrong. They served the country.
Okay.
You know, didn't cause no problems. Come on. You know?
All righty. Pastor Jeff says, leave him alone. Good morning, Pastor Care.
Good morning. How you guys doing?
Good morning. We're okay.
What
Thanks.
up,
How
bro?
are you? You're good?
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you. I'm good.
Oh,
Yes.
okay. So should they leave him alone or should he be deported?
So when you say that he served, did he serve for us, the United States, or for Jamaica?
Yes. No, he served for United States.
Yeah, I think they should leave him alone. I really do.
Okay.
I mean, unless he killed somebody, you know. You know, I've slapped Ainsley a couple of times, but I'm still here.
Okay. Hey, Brother Ainsley, should they leave him alone?
Man, they take my brother, man. They want to do my brother, man, like that. So, man, they're not right, you know. Me tell you, no, they're not right. Boy, you know, do all them things here and then see how you treat you.
Okay.
So, I mean, I agree. Listen, I mean, so it's okay. He come over here. He could die for the country. You know, he can, you know, go to wherever, where we had to serve, Iraq, wherever it is, serve your duty here. And now all of a sudden this, I say, come on, man. Otherwise, and I'm charged that you talking about this happened like so many years ago. I know the statute limitation has ran out on that. So I'm like, to me, it's like, I don't understand the mentality of some people or this administration that somehow think that this is the right thing to do. I just don't. It's just like it's beyond common sense. It's like, what kind of thinking that this is okay? You know, that this is the issue. You know, and you know, and of course from Jamaica or any our side of the fence, of course, it's going to be like, oh, it's like that. I think if this person was from the other side of the fence, it probably wouldn't even be this big of an issue. It'd be already handled. So
it wouldn't be an issue at all. They wouldn't need to be deported.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So, the mentality of people, the administration, those who in the Pacific agency who's pursuing this, I'm like, they need to be ashamed of themselves. They really need to be ashamed of themselves. You know.
Okay. We got a check-in from Deacon Diallo. Good morning. Thank you so much for joining us. Okay, so I've had this question for quite some time. So I never understood how someone who was not okay. So they say you get papers to come here, so you're here lawfully, legally, right? But you're not like, I guess, permanent. How do you even get a chance to serve? How do you serve? That part has always puzzled me. So you have allowed him to serve with whatever status he is. This status here, lawful. You haven't bothered him because he's been legal. He was able to join the army and serve those 4 years and was honorably discharged. In my opinion, they should have sealed him as of that point. Once he served the country, whatever lawful here, but whatever permanent papers that he got to be here lawfully, not permanent. Whatever papers he got here to be lawful, you should have sealed him as a permanent citizen here to have never been touched ever, to have to be deported. He shouldn't have to file for anything. He shouldn't have to prove anything anymore. He should have been considered an American. Why? You serve the country. I don't understand. So you know what? This country is infamous for double dipping, because that's exactly what they did. That's exactly what they've done. You now double dip. You got 4 years of war or whatever of service out of him. And now, because he's not legal, you want to send him back. Then he shouldn't have been able to serve. If he wasn't legal, if he was deportable back then, you should not have allowed him to serve. But you did. He was good enough to serve, leave him alone. But this should have been done by the government back then. I don't even think it was something that he should have done. I don't even think it's something that he should have done.
To me, it sounds like it could be like a clerical error somewhere. You figure back in them days, everything, it wasn't computerized. Everything was more or less by hand. Anything could be a computer error, or going from the computer era to digital. Things get mixed up and blah, blah, blah. But you're right, and I just look, what are requirements? You got to be a U.S. citizen or permanent here with a green card. So apparently he was here enough to serve. He matched that green card, that citizenship requirement. That's a done deal right there.
Right.
We need to go no further. We ain't got to go past go. That's it.
That's why I said, the United States is double dipping. How you even look at this person to deport him? If he was deportable, he definitely shouldn't have been able to serve the country. He's entitled to any benefits a veteran gets and all of that.
Everything.
If that's his status, right? If that was his status, if he is a veteran, then leave him alone. Then you what you should have done back then, you didn't do, so you blew it. Too bad.
All right, how about this scenario? Okay, you're saying he's not a C, or you want to deport him, but he's a veteran. So he's entitled to veteran benefits. So you're going to ship him to Jamaica, so now he can get his veteran benefit, who he's entitled to from the U.S. in Jamaica.
Wow. What a thought. That's a thought.
You don't lose your benefit.
Right.
Well, I have a question. So if he had all of this on his record, how was he able to get into the military?
Well, that's what Ainsley just said. He must have had the green card or whatever it was, because it says he came here lawfully. So he must have.
No. My question is, if he had an assault and all of this on him, how did he get into the military?
No. He, back in the day, he was in the military. In 2000,
okay, so that happened afterwards?
Right. In 2006 and 2007. But see, again, that's why I say you're double dipping, because you could have taken care of this back in 2006, 2007, because they were saying at one point, if you got into any legal problems, whether you were here legally or illegally, you would have to be deported. That was a rule at one point. So my thing is, you didn't bother him back then. So leave him alone now.
Yeah, man. I know a lot of brethren back in the day have a lot of problems, man, and then I want to go back home.
I know a couple of people that I heard was deported. I was like, hey, what happened to so-so? Oh, they were deported. I was like, oh, and when they came here, they were children. They came here legally. They came as children. But as an adult, they got into trouble and they deported them. Plain and simple as that. So, hey, what are you doing? Leave him alone. Leave him alone. And like I said, once he served those 4 years, in my opinion, he was good enough to go into the military, then seal his permanent residence here. He is now considered a citizen.
A done deal.
Right. Mm-hmm. Leave him alone. Leave him alone. We got to check in from our girl, Akusa. Good morning. Thank you so much for joining us. All right. Here we are with another thing that's kind of hot on the press here. So they're talking about the mental stability of men and the fact that loneliness is causing mental illness, behavioral shift, And some men have to get therapy. And they're saying, watch for the symptoms of these behavioral patterns that indicate loneliness. So I wanted to run it by you guys and see what you all say. So I'll start with you, Pastor KL, on this one. They say if a man is lonely, one of the behavioral patterns is they withdraw from social interactions. Would you agree or disagree?
I mean, I could agree and disagree. I mean, I'm not lonely, and I try to stay away from social interactions. It doesn't make me lonely. I just don't. Sometimes you just don't want to be around people. But I guess if your pattern has always been you've been the Madam Butterfly, and then all of a sudden you're not that person anymore, then yeah, I guess you can be lonely or consider to be lonely.
Okay. Pastor Jeff, would you say that is a behavioral pattern of someone who is lonely? They withdraw from social interactions?
I really don't know. I mean, I know that's a sign of depression, but loneliness, I don't know. I mean, I can't say because I ain't lonely.
Okay. All righty. Pastor, Brother Ainsley, what say you?
I know. First, you said this is something that's been going on now, lately, right?
Yeah, they're
I guess
saying they're noticing it now.
they're
more than
noticing
before.
it now. The men have been quote lonely, I guess, since the beginning of time. Because to me, the situation is different times, but the same thing. Now all of a sudden it's an issue. I do think therapy, particularly with our side of the fence, we used to shine away from it. I think it's a good thing to have a therapist and thing, but to withdraw, I think sometimes that's more so. I agree with Brother Jeff. That's more like a sign of depression. I think if you're lonely, if you get tired of staying around the house, you get tired of blah blah blah, you go out and do something about it. So not doing something about it, I think that's a sign, more so a sign of depression.
Okay. So we're gonna shift this. Go ahead, Pastor Kale.
I have a question, and maybe it's a dumb question, but we keep on talking about this, mental illness and stuff like that. So do we think that people, besides dementia, do we think that as people grow up, they become crazy, or is this something that like when you talk about autism, you were born with it? Is this something that's just in you, or does this come out in your 50s or 60s? You know what I mean? Where does all of a sudden this mental stuff come from? If you're not on drugs, you know what I mean? You haven't been in the war, you know what I'm saying? I mean, where does this just come from at your later stage?
Do you two have a response?
Well, now they can define behavior more better now than they used to. They didn't know. Okay, back in it, what kids, they didn't know, what would you call it? Kids who are
ADHD,
ADD, and what they didn't know what it was, and now we know it's ADD, and it was a video. I don't know if y'all seen it. It was a rather large kid, man, and a woman. She has a frying pan, but this kid, he's I guess he's having an episode. And
we showed it the other day, Wednesday. We showed it.
That's autism.
Autism, yeah, autism, right? Yeah, autism, yeah. And it's like, back in the day, we didn't know what that was. And it was like, I don't care how big you are. It's like we got to handle you, And now, I guess by now is more defined of what mentally what that is. You can handle it better, So
Yeah, but anything, just going on to what you just said. Back in the days, it could have been defined as whatever they call it now, professionally. But back in the days, our parents was the doctor. Sit down. Sit down. Just sit your behind down. We had black parents had a remedy for the ADHD.
Yeah, I
Now,
agree. I hear what you're saying.
now we want to give them drugs. We want to give them melatonin to go to sleep. How about when your parents says, it's 6 o'clock, it's bedtime, turn off the TV, and didn't care that you cried yourself to sleep. Now we got to have all this medical stuff for stuff that we've been going through back in the days. So now the doctors are getting richer, and it seems like we had the prescription of the problem.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, so I know one post, one lady said, I hear, this is the autism, but it's a matter of control. Even with maybe their diminished mental capacity and whatnot, they still know what control is. When I say sit down or you go to bed, you sit down and you go to bed. I agree with you, man. It's because it's like I just can't see things going that far, really. It's like it's like a baby approach to it. To me, it's like as an adult, as a parent, what we say goes. I mean, that's how I grew up. What we say go. Yeah, I might not want to listen, but if I didn't, I know I'm gonna catch. Listen, don't let me do that in front of my grandmother. It was like, now you go get your own switch for your own behind to get beat. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, I think I agree. It's a matter of control, no matter what the situation is, man. And I think not maybe not always, but I think I think the kids can realize they can get away with more stuff. Get away with things.
Okay. Pastor Jeff, what's your thought?
My thoughts on it: beat their butts and beat that mental illness out of them. That's what I'm saying.
Oh my gosh.
And you'll find out that a lot of it ain't mental illness. It's a rebellious spirit. It's a wrong spirit. It's entitled spirit. You understand? Yeah, but they want to put everything under the umbrella of mental illness now. And, it's like, that's an excuse. That's the excuse they using. A lot of them. Because we all crazy. Once sin got into us, we not as normal as we should be. But they just medicating demons. That's what they doing.
Okay, I'm going to give you an educated answer from what I've kind of done some research on, and I'll give you my opinion. So, if there is a definitive issue, meaning there's some mental illness in your genetics, in hereditary, if that's your issue, as you get older and as we break down mentally, it can now surface where it did not show up earlier. So there's a story of my grandmother, my maternal grandmother. We used to see she had episodes and things like that, and later on, as I got older, I found out that they had diagnosed her with schizophrenia. There was a story that said that when she was young, there was no problem. As she was a young adult, back in those days, when the cops used to attack, and do all with the water hoses and dogs and things like that, there was an altercation with a police officer, and they hit her repeatedly in the head with the billy club. From then on, they noticed that there was some mental illness. So they don't know. They never really could definitively say whether that brought on what was already kind of lying dormant, or they really can't say. But that was one of their thoughts, that jump started that. And we would notice if when she was bad, she was bad. When she was off her medication, she was bad. It was bad. It was bad. It was really bad. And when she was medicated, she was, an entirely different. Oh my God, it was like two different people, two completely different people. I have family on my level who we don't know what's going on with them, but they have expressed that they feel like something could be wrong upstairs, but they don't want to go and find out about it. That they understand that some of the things that they do could be, and this is as an adult, that some of the things that they're doing could be kind of like on that side, but yet they don't want to go and find out about it. So
I'm gonna have to go get checked out, man.
So I would say, if you're feeling something, go get checked out, just find out for sure. And some people say, well, if you go get checked out, they're gonna say that's what you are, because if you give the medical history, they're gonna link it anyway, blah 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 blah. So that's the medical side of that. My opinion as to when we were younger, when somebody when the kids cut up and they was like, sit down, sit your behind down, or they beat you till you sat down, or they sent you to bed. I don't believe that none of this stuff existed. I believe that it did exist back then. And we didn't know what it was, and we just handled it in that manner, and they made it work. But look at them as adults. What happened to them as adults? Were they unhinged? Did they have a hard time keeping jobs? Did they finish school? I think those things needed to be paid attention to, but they weren't. The children now, we're running into all kinds of problems. We're running into all kinds of medical breakdown. These children are literally born, something is wrong. You can't ignore that some children just have a behavioral problem. And then on the other side, there are a lot more children being born with autism, cerebral palsy, all kind ADHD. This stuff is real. You cannot eliminate the fact that these kids are literally going through something. First of all, the food breakdown. How is the food being handled? Our food wasn't handled back then the way it's handled now.
That's true.
So you have to remember, this is the same way we do. We know that if you eat properly, you will be healthy. Well, when you don't eat properly, what happens to you? Are we eliminating that it's not just a physical breakdown, but it can be a mental breakdown? Are we eliminating that? That's my question on the table.
I just say we all crazy.
Outside of that, Pastor Jeff, I'm asking because it's if the thought is, well, back then they had the answer, they had the remedy, but yet now we're faking this stuff and it's really not real. Are we saying that if one of the components of not eating properly, one of the things, look at the smoke. You can't idle a car anymore. Why? Because they're finding out that it is affecting mentally. So are we ignoring and eliminating these things is my question. And I'm hearing silence, but I would like to hear an answer.
No, I think, definitely. All right. Okay. I think the same issue do exist, but I think perhaps as time is going on, is proving that other factors that's bringing out more is exacerbating the problem, like the food we eat. We were definitely a lot more healthier say 20, 30 years ago, when food was more
Right.
organic, was less preservative, all of these added stuff. Then we come to find out, it causes cancer. It has carcinogens in it,
Right.
and diabetes never was like it is
It-
now, like it was
wow.
back in the day. There was no more all these cardiac problems back in the day like we having now. All this stuff it can trace back to the food, and it's like the food and the drugs go hand in hand, and so
Right,
there's
right.
more. You would think as more advanced as we are, medically we should be a whole lot more better. But the bottom line is there's no profit in us being healthy.
Right. Absolutely.
know what I'm
Absolutely.
saying?
To the
So-
medical field.
And so
Absolutely.
I really think that there's been no cures that I'm aware of that's ever been happening in the last, I don't know what, 30, 40 years. There's this medication make you tie you over a little bit better and whatnot, but a cure that ain't happening. And well, it ain't happening. So I think there's more stuff that's going to be coming on, and as Azkaban do the food, and it's going to affect the mentality. Definitely, it's going to affect so. But I don't think that, as Pastor Jeff said, that whooping can cure a whole lot of that stuff that's going on now too.
If it's a general behavioral problem, absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely. If it's just a
Every
matter
situation
of
is
this
different.
is just a bad, right. If it's a bad child, absolutely. A
Yeah.
more stringent regimen, whether you hitting or whatever the situation is, what works for that case, because even when you have multiple children, everything doesn't work for everybody.
Right, of
So,
course.
as you are approaching it, if we're just talking about behavioral issues, then I agree with you 100%. Then you know what? I'm not gonna do too much talking. That ain't happening. Okay, because I ain't killing myself talking to you, and you still gonna tap dance on my grave later. You just gonna be just who you are.
Mhm.
But we can't eliminate the fact that I agree with you 100% that can they cure some of these things? Absolutely. Absolutely. They can cure some of these things. Do they have cures for some of these things? They probably do. And we don't know anything about it. However, our lack of taking care of ourselves is the first line of defense. So, can we treat ourselves better, and we're not sick and needing a cure? In other words, prevention is better than the cure. So, does that eliminate the fact that that's their responsibility? As a medical field, to help to cure us, but it is our responsibility to eat better. Why? Because there are just certain things that are genetic, so we're going to be predisposed to certain things. But I was very healthy until my 40s. Very healthy until my 40s, and then I had my breakdown, my own physical breakdown, and just went on a string of things like that. So, we will have, as that's an answer to Pastor KL's question right there. As we get older, your body takes a major shift. I always, what I always say? I always say, why are we so upset that our eyes are not as great when we get to be 40? Our teeth are not as great when we get to be 50. We didn't had these same teeth. These same teeth we had from when we were 5 and 6 and 7 years old. Our gums have been the same gums since we were born. Why is there not a realistic understanding that we are going to break down? I don't get it. I don't get it. This is the same body. We only got one body. This one body is going through everything. We don't shift our heart. We don't change our lungs. We don't trade off kidneys. These are the same organs and bodies we've had since birth. Our brain ain't the same. So how are we not breaking down as we get older? Tanika says,
I'll tell you one thing.
hold on, let me read this and then you can comment.
Okay.
If you
Okay.
think that something is off, kilter, please go get checked out, especially for the people around you. Everyone else knows it. You should too. Absolutely, Tamika, I agree with you. All right, Pastor KL.
No, you were saying that you didn't start breaking down until you was 40. I started breaking down when I left my mama's house. So my mom was gonna cook for me, so I cook the right stuff. I'm gonna make sure I didn't eat junk. A lot of times when we get on our own, we get on our own. You know what I mean? And I'm gonna eat what I want to eat. I'm gonna do what I want to do. But what about these teenagers that's having children who's smoking weed all day, drinking all day? Even if the child is not smoking it, they're intaking it because they're in the house. I mean, it's just a lot of stuff that plays a part of it. Our parents, whether they drink or whether they smoke, they didn't drink and smoke with us. You know what I mean? Now you hear the people say, well, I'd rather smoke with my child. At least I know they're safe. Really? Wow.
Right.
The whole mentality of raising a child is different. We cause the mental, disabilities a lot of times because we're mentally unstable. But they got this, they got that. Why they got this? Because of you. Why don't we take the responsibility on why we live with radio? A lot of us, they live with radio.
Oh my goodness. Right. How did you take care of yourself while you were pregnant? Those things are essential. And we're wondering why our children are not well when they're born. Because look at the parents. Listen, do you realize that genetically, everybody doesn't mix with everybody? So in other words, you have two healthy parents, but even blood, all of that stuff, it doesn't always connect. And sometimes it doesn't even affect your first child. It affects the second and then. See, this is how complex this stuff is. So that's why we can't sit and say, well, back during the day we were better and now they're faking and we're not. No, these kids are legitimately coming here. These kids have allergies. What did we know about allergies? There was a child in the church. Mother always told us that the child couldn't eat fish. So we never made fish for lunch, for Sabbath lunch. We were away and we were frying fish and the child got sick from the fish being cooked. Didn't ingest it, but she had to take him out and give him whatever EpiPen he needed. And he didn't eat it. We didn't cross cook it. We didn't touch it. One thing, but no. This is how sensitive even out these kids are coming here. And he was a little kid. He was about 5, 6. That's how bad it is. How are these children being born with eczema and psoriasis? And this is real. Ain't no faking. It is not what it used to be. Plain and simple as that. They're ill.
Yeah. A lot of stuff is genetics. Yeah.
The Bible did say we're gonna be weak. That we're gonna be weaker and wiser. So
it's happening. It's happening. We're seeing the evidence of it. It is what it is, y'all. It is what it is. My due time man, thank you so much for your contribution into today's conversation. And we pray that you have a wonderful weekend. There will be no Sunday. It's Super Bowl Sunday. So there will be no Sunday activity from us. I just figured out that it was going to be Super Bowl Sunday. So God spares, check it on Monday.
All right. Take care.
Have a wonderful weekend. Thank you.
Yeah.
Woo. The chills from the truth. So, we talked about quite a few different things today. And just this week has been a crazy week for me. It's been like crazy busy. And if it wasn't busy physically, it was busy with whatever work I had to do. Brain things going through my head. God's kind of setting me on the side and doing some things with me. The amount of phone calls this week was absolutely insane. Insane. And they were distressing phone calls. I'm not even talking about people who will call and say, "What's up, Steph?" or what. No, it was distressing. If you weren't sick, you were experiencing some level of hardship or breakdown, or it's been real tough. I've been told about some conversations that have taken place, and I'm just kind of shaking my head and like trying to get it together, because some of it makes no sense at all. Some of it's consequential, meaning it's based on something that was done or wasn't done. Some of it is just sinful. Some of it is fear. So I'm saying that to you to say it's just like the news. It's everywhere. But it all comes back to one thing. Whether we're talking about the news, whether we're talking about the crazy week. And like I said, God is like just pouring, and he is showing me more and more why we need him. Really, really, really showing me more and more why we need him. And it is something that, the scale is constantly tilting, because you'll go through a season where you'll see people wanting God and acknowledging that they need God, and following God, and just acknowledging, like, what, if I don't get this together, then my life is going to be an absolute mess. You get everybody's just off their rocker. It's like, okay, the world is going straight chaotic. Nobody seems to have their head on straight. Blah, 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 blah. You constantly, the scale is constantly tilting, constantly up and down, up and down, up and down. And it's funny because I had 3 people this week say to me, I could never be a pastor. Just from what I'm doing alone. And one person had nothing to even do with ministering. The other 2 were people who were ministering to other people. And there was another person who had nothing to do with ministry. And it was like, I just don't know how it gets done. I could never, same thing I say about teachers. God bless the teachers. That is not my area. Saying all that to say, it's the same closing, but different focus. No matter what and where you are in life, you need to make God your personal savior, Jesus your personal savior, and God the head of your life. You really need to make that decision. I'm finding more and more younger people are in distress. They are all over the place. They are kind of like split. They're listening to this, they're listening to that. They don't know which way to go, which road to follow. This world that looks like living and life is the draw. I can't tell you how often I've heard a young person say, I just want to live. I don't want to, you say, well, what, come on to church. I don't know, Miss Steph, I just want to live. Pastor Steph, I just want to live. And I'm looking at their lives now, and I'm like, that's what you went for. Chaos, confusion. They've brought children here who are, smack dab in the middle of war. Forget about going off to another country to war. The war is right in their home. Their war is between the 2 parents. The war is in the school. The war is in the neighborhood. They don't even have to leave where they live to go through the war. And I constantly say, this is what you chose. This is living. We have to understand. We talked a little while ago about genetics. We have to understand that we are genetically predisposed to having chaos continue, and it's called generational curse. Your generational curse could be physical. Your generational curse could be spiritual. Your generational curse could be mental. It could be emotional. No matter what your generational curse is, you need God. You need God. Whether you have some bad health coming down the pipeline, you need God. Whether you have a mental disability and mental illness coming down the pipeline, you need God. Whether you have emotional distress coming down the pipeline, you need God. I have read several articles that said, I'm following my mother or my father's pattern of living because that's what I grew up around. And I have low self-esteem because I was raised by a mother that had low self-esteem. And so now when I look at myself, I don't see much in myself. I look at myself, and even though I'm a size 4, I consider myself fat. And even though I've gotten good grades and I've gotten degrees, I don't think much of myself because that's what I was raised around, and I didn't have anything else before me to model. So now this is what I've adopted and adapted to. Do you realize that could easily be you or your children, your grandchildren? Do you realize that this is real? I grew up with alcohol around me, all around me. Both parents. When I was younger, I do not drink at all because of what I was around. I didn't like it. It didn't feel good to see it, to watch it, to watch the day and night activity. Like a person acts this way one time and they act another way the next time. Listen, it is what it is. I have family who don't even want me to talk about it. Well, this is what God has given me to talk about. So I'm not here to embarrass my mother or my father. My mother's gone. And my mother was an avid listener. She was on this broadcast every day. And can I tell you something? No matter how much I talked about it, she didn't say a word to me. She never, and my mother and I were tight and we talked all the time. And when she wasn't happy with something, she said it. But she understood that this is my call, that the call is on my life. And God is using me to help set an example. I may have some family members that would probably be so angry with me because I talked about my grandmother today. I've talked about her other days. Again, God is using the things that I've experienced and the things that I know to help whoever's a part of this broadcast, whether you're a Due Time crew member, because Pastor KL asked the question, or if you are a viewer or a listener. Somebody is being blessed. It is not up to us to choose how a person gets their blessing or where the blessing comes from. We don't have that right. That's God's decision. And I have always been a very private person. So if I had my way, I wouldn't say anything. But I've had to get over that, and I had to really settle in with, this is not my life. It's not my journey. This is God's journey through Stephanie. He wants other people to be blessed. And we are going to have to understand that the same way we are predisposed to health issues and mental illness, we are going to be predisposed to sin. Why? Because our first father and first mother were sinful. They were born pure, but because of the fall that they took from their disobedience, we are now eating their sins. We are born in sin and shaped in iniquity. That's the way we come here. However, we were also made in the image of God. So, people always say, well, I was born in sin and shaped in iniquity. No. I remember something. My DNA also comes from God and Jesus. So I can be good. Ooh. I do have the ability because Christ was on the cross. He died on the cross. He suffered, bled, and died for such a time as when Stephanie was born, I had a right to eternal living. It wasn't just from Adam and Eve, but God sent Jesus to now give us an entirely different option. Are you going to take that option? What does taking that option mean, not only to you, but to yours? You know, we talk about genetics today. That is genetic. What are you willing to do? What are you willing to sacrifice? I know some parents who will not talk to their kids about anything like strict and I'm talking about adult kids. I ain't even talking about kids. I'm talking about, my mother went in her grave disciplining me. When she thought she saw something wrong, she said, up until the time she couldn't talk. If she saw it, she said it. That's our job as parents. We can, well, you know, they grown, they got to learn on their own. They do. But there is nothing that says our mouths close because they are adults. Does God's mouth close because we're adults? It's the same thing. I've literally watched, like, you know, I can't do nothing with them. No, I mean, I'm not going to say anything. I can't make the decision for you, but I can surely tell you. You may not want to hear it. Do you get the sucking of the teeth and the rolling of the eyes and, I'm grown and of course. We do it to God. We know that earthly children will do it to earthly parents. But it doesn't stop you. It shouldn't stop you from remembering the genetic makeup. That they are predisposed to being sinful and dying in sin. Am I going to keep my mouth closed because I don't want to get their reaction? I don't want to hear from them. You know, we talk constantly here about the way children used to be and how we used to be raised and things like that. And, you know, but we cannot say right now that the stuff that is going on now is not real. It's not real. It's real. And we're going to have to deal with the reality of what's going on. Some of this genetic, these diseases and conditions and things, they're going to fall in our family. It's going to be our grandchildren. It's going to be our niece. It's going to be our children. We're going to have to deal with it one way or another. It's not going to be fun, but it's the fallen world. And all of this stuff has been predicted, has already been prophesied, that, and it's biblical, that this is what we will endure. And you know what? Famine in the land, sickness in the land, on the land. Nobody ever said that was lifted, that we could not be stricken with that again. Who said that? Who said that? Who said that God would not deal with us the way he used to deal with the people during biblical times? When they were stricken with famine and illness and death, who said? Well, where did that ever leave? When did that ever leave? So the fact that we have children born with these illnesses and things like that, we have children that are born where they're killed at birth and months old. This is all biblical. This stuff is just recycling itself. We're living in it. We were reading about it, but now we're living in it. Who's to say that this stuff that is off the table now? And this could be one of the reasons why we're enduring it. Listen, the word of God said that if my people who are called by my name will change and turn from their wicked and evil ways, I will now hear their prayer and heal the land. If the land wasn't sick, there would be no need to heal. Wake up. Wake up. It's not about beating our children and that's going to get the job done. You know what? We have said no to God for so long. God is now allowing us to live in the no. He is allowing us to now live in the rejection. You don't want me? I'm okay. But now I'm going to open up and let whatever happens, happen. Biblical. We're not going to keep receiving and ciphering everything from God. We want everything. We want jobs. We want good families. We want marriage. We want big homes, and we want vacationing, and we want yachts, and we want, to have prestige, and we want to be famous, but we don't want to give God anything. I'm watching this. I'm listening to this. I'm listening to all these people that say, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that. I don't want to do this. I don't want to go to church. But yet on the flip side, they want. Look, make them, if they had to make a list, their wants are much longer than their I don't want tos. But unfortunately, the wants can only come from God, because the word of God says all good and perfect gifts come from above. All good and perfect gifts come from above. God owns it all. He only loans it to us. It doesn't belong to us. But we want all this stuff, but yet we don't want to contend or do anything with what God says. I'm so tired of hearing, I don't want to, why do I have to? But yet on the flip side, I'm not happy with my life. I want my life to be better. I want a husband. I want a wife. I want a good relationship. I want a good job. I want a house. I want to do this. I want good health. Where does this stuff come from? Where does it come from? Above. From God. Above. Well, it's just going to just keep handing out stuff, and there's not going to be anything we have to give. Too much is given, much is required. There's a give and take here. There's not just no recipient thing. This has to be, I have to give. And let me tell you something, by the time God requires you to give, how much has he already given? That if he stops giving today, could we really complain? And we do. I know when things start going wrong and I'm like, okay, come on, God. I need you to fix this. I need you to fix this. If God did not choose to fix that thing, could I not say that he didn't fix all these things already? So we can't live like this. We can't live where we just want and expect because we can't figure out why we're not getting all of the things that we want. Well, half the stuff we want, we don't even deserve. The other half we don't need. He says, I will supply your needs. Now it's up to us to figure out that he is supplying our needs. That as long as we are breathing and we are living, that we are doing better than someone else, than a whole lot of others. Despite the fact that we're always looking at who's doing better, we are always in the middle. There's always someone better and there's always someone worse. We have got to understand that God is not going to keep on giving us. He's not going to keep blessing us. And then when he looks around, it's like, okay, well, all I asked you for was to this. All I asked you for was that. Last Sunday, the prayer was keep showing up. Some of us haven't even begun the process of showing up. We just happen to land there and we just sit there for 5 minutes. And we just happen to land there and then we spend 10 minutes there. It's all unintentional. Because every time we go to intentionally do, we always look over on the other side of the fence and look at how great and beautiful all of that is. And we're going to keep telling God what we can't do for him. But over here, all of this beauty and all of the things that I want, all the things I would love to have. I'm watching some people with husbands and wives, big houses, and I'm like, whoa, God is good to you because you ain't doing a thing. Has nothing to do with what I'm saying. I'm not judging anybody. I'm looking at the word of God, and I'm looking at your life. I'm so tired of people saying, "Oh, I love God, and I bless God, and every day I get up," and I'm saying also, but look at what He's done for you. You think that all you need to do is to get up and say, "Thank you, God, for putting my feet on this floor"? If He were to start making it an even exchange, if He were to start matching what you're giving, what would happen? One day, I think it was last week or earlier this week, I challenged you to look at your life, pick apart your life and compare it to what the Word of God says and match it. Today, I'm asking you to match what you're giving God to all the things that you have. Don't talk about what you don't have. To all of the things that you have. If God started matching what you do, and He started doing for you the same way on the same level, where would you be right now? You want to know how long is church? I said, well, how long you stay? I stopped answering that question a long time ago. I said that earlier this week. Stop answering that question. If God were to say to you, you want to spend 4 hours here at church, I'll take it, but you'll spend 4 hours a day at work, or 4 hours a week, or 4 hours a month. I'll give you exactly what you give to me. So if you come out, I don't care what day it is, we're not getting there. If you come out 4 hours a week for me, I'll give you 4 hours a week for work. Where would you be? If He was to start matching you to what you give Him, where would you be? Those of us who don't tithe, those of us who don't give God anything, we make money, a lot or little, we make money. If God starts saying, I'll give you what you give me, where would you be? You think you're doing bad now? Think about God giving you what you give Him. Where would you be? He said, all right, you give me $25, I'll give you $25. So in 4 hours a week, I'll give you $25. We're going to have an even exchange here. What could you do with 24 hours a week, 4 hours a week, $25 a week, 4 hours a week? What could you do with that? That's all you feel God is worth. When you're in service, you picking up a phone, you scrolling, social media, you're looking at what the world is doing. You can't even stop long enough to pay attention to what God has in that room. What if God did that for you? So while you're at church the 4 hours, you really only put in 2 hours because sporadically you just spent 2 hours scrolling the internet, looking at what the world is doing. So if God says, okay, so I'm looking at the world and I'm going to give you 2 hours, what would that mean for you? You need to start thinking that way. You really need to start thinking that way. You really need to start thinking that way. And then you call Pastor Steph and let me know how it works out for you. Let me know. I would love to hear. I would love to hear it. So I'm praying that you take these little tidbits and you now put it in your arsenal and you use it. Maybe it'll work for you. Maybe it won't. If God gave you 4 hours a day, 4 hours a week, maybe you could make it work. I could make it work. If you gave God $25 a week and He gave you $25 a week, maybe you could make it work. I can't. If you only gave God 2 hours of your time and He only gave you 2 hours of His time, maybe you could make it work. I can't. So you let me know how it works out for you. Treat treat God the way he's treating you, or put into effect you cutting back and letting God give you what you give him. See how it works. What works? Let me know what works for you. Because, maybe I'm just small-minded. Maybe I'm not thinking broad enough. Maybe I'm just letting you know those things don't work for me. No. Stopped working for me a long time ago. So maybe you've got some kind of magic going on and it works for you. And I'm not being funny, but I'm giving you a reality here. Why haven't you given God your life? He's giving you his. Oh. Not an even exchange, but he's still giving you. You cannot beat God given. You can't beat God giving. No. You've been watching It's Due with Pastor Steph. Join us Monday through Friday from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. where we discuss matters of the heart, mind, and spirit. As you go through your day, be sure to set your mind on things that are above, not on things that are on the earth. They will only serve as a distraction. Remember, prayer changes things. It's Pastor Steph signing off, and I want to thank my Due Time crew, the men, for taking us into a thought-provoking weekend. Thank you for hanging out with us and helping us keep that chat room alive. Please do not miss this opportunity to give Christ your life right now. Please do not miss the opportunity to strengthen that relationship with the Lord right now, because later is not promised to any of us. Like I said, because it's Super Bowl Sunday and everybody's going to be watching the Super Bowl game, we will be on break for Sunday night's prayer. But as of Monday morning, God spares, we will be right here shaking the Monday morning blues. Please do not leave without hitting that subscribe button, spreading the word, share, let everybody know that It's Due Time with Pastor Steph is on and they don't want to miss it. Until Monday, God spares, I love you.